So what we do with the brands, we help them to get like 100% broker ready and also facilitate the communications to the broker, where we go, this brand understands how to play the game. They're ready. Here's all the information. And then you see a brand going from zero to millions in a very short period of time.
Welcome to episode 13 of the FoodGrads podcast, the podcast where we explore the exciting world of professionals in the food, beverage, and hospitality industries. I'm your host, Veronica Hislop, a molecular science graduate student and career partner with FoodGrads. On this week's podcast, we interview Bernard Verkaaik, the founder and operating manager of The Greater Goods, a food industry consultancy based in Toronto, Ontario. In this episode, we talk about The Greater Goods and how they're helping small businesses grow by providing specialized services that help companies no matter what step they are in their journey. Whether it's cost savings, finding a distributor, or sourcing materials, they can help you do it. But that's not all. In this episode, Bernard teaches me about supermarkets and how they work in terms of what a listing for a product means, and we also talk about what the difference is between a broker and a distributor, as well as the things that are exciting Bernard in the food industry right now. Oh, and the Futurepeneurs Program. Bernard is an expert at his craft. You can tell that he's excited about the food industry and wants to play a role in shaping what's to come. Not to mention, you can just tell he loves his jobs and seeing others succeed in their businesses. If you're unsure about the inner workings of a grocery store and want to understand what happens after you develop a product, then this is the episode for you. And with that, on to the show. Thanks, Bernard, for coming on the show. I want to first say congratulations. I saw on your LinkedIn that you've hit 3 years having your business with The Greater Goods. So I'm excited to have you on the show. We've had good conversations in the past, and I think it's going to be fun.
Thank you very much. I agree.
For people who don't know about you, I think that we should get into knowing more about you and The Greater Goods. So could you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah, for sure. So I'm the owner of The Greater Goods. I started my business about 3 years ago. So I've been in the food industry for about 20 years. I worked for different food importers for ingredients. And then I worked for Barry Callebaut, so the chocolate ingredient supplier or chocolate manufacturer, where I learned a lot about the industry and the workings of an ingredient supplier and working with manufacturers. And what I noticed is that small startups with really great business ideas, so food products, that it's been such a challenge for them to launch their product into the grocery store. So let's say if you walk into Loblaws and you see products there, like, how do you get there? Like, how does that work? Or how does it not work? So I started developing my business to support those entrepreneurs. And I've been doing that for 3 years, and it's been a real awesome journey.
Yeah, it's exciting. I know that you're in the best place, at least I think, for doing that type of stuff in Ontario. Being located in Toronto, you're in the center of everything. So
exactly. Some of the things that we do is we set up manufacturing for a startup company because they have this great idea they develop this recipe they want to bring to the market. I also work with FoodGrads, recent FoodGrads that help me to assist to formulate and bring some of those recipes or commercialize it. And then because of my network and the consultants I work with, we set up the manufacturing for those brands. And as you mentioned, in the GTA, it's like full of a lot of those manufacturers, and that they have excess capacity and are more than willing to produce a product for other people.
Okay, so that's cool. I know from our conversations that I do understand a little bit about what you do, but the term broker, you're a consultant company and as well a broker, and to be honest, I don't really understand what those two things are, and mind you, even the difference between them. So if I'm like this, I feel like a lot of people would. So could you explain a little bit more?
Yeah, that's a daily conversation I have, especially with prospects, clients. Oh, and they ask me that all the time. I even wrote a blog on my my website to sort of like what's the difference?
Yeah,
how does it all
I was reading it, and I'll make sure to link it as well so like other people can read it. That's what sparked me wanting to have you on this podcast. You've been really frequently posting on LinkedIn with the blog posts, and I was like, this is like when I was trying to do research for one of my blog posts, I was like, I don't have a clue what this is, so I need to talk to someone. So tell me more.
Yeah, no, for sure. So I have two parts of my business. I do ingredient brokerage, and I have two salespeople that are working for me. So we basically represent a few ingredient companies within Canada, and where we facilitate the sales for them. So brokerage basically means that you are a part-time salesperson, but a broker typically has different product lines. So that could be retail or that could be ingredients, where they represent multiple companies in a specific territory. So a broker is a part-time salesperson working for a manufacturer. And then also a lot of times when people want to launch their retail product, so let's say they have a barbecue sauce that they developed, they want to bring it to the market. They're like, how do we do this? And then often people are sort of confused between a distributor and a broker. They're like, do I need a distributor? Do I need a broker? The reality is that you need both when you launch a product. And so a distributor is basically if you have a product that you're launching, you can deliver all those products to, let's say you want to deliver to 600 different stores, different locations. You can't make those deliveries yourself. So you need a distributor that has multiple products, and maybe they have 2,000 products. So altogether, they do the distribution for your product. So when you get listed with a distributor, that really helps you to expand your business and go to different grocery stores. The broker is your salesperson that needs to help to increase the sales. So they go out to the different stores, get the listing, and then the listing will go through the distributor. And that helps you to get the product there.
Oh, that makes so much more sense. And now I can see why you would want to be helping small companies, because they're focused on their product, and getting into stores and doing all that, like that's another full-time job, and they may
It is, yeah.
And it sounds like you help a lot of new startups, and they might not be, there's career changers or people that are new. They might just not know. So you have those expertise to help them.
Correct, yeah. And we really help them to get ready. So we meet startup companies at different phases, and we really help them to get completely ready to go into the stores, because sometimes companies are not completely ready because it's hard for them to understand how the dynamic in the grocery store works. Like, how do you get a listing? What do you pay for? How do you do promotions? To what's required to get into those stores, and the connections. So sometimes they can sort of crash and burn. They go direct, and then it's harder to come back. So we really help them to get 100% ready. So they have all their homework ready, and everything is basically the value proposition into the market. Because of course, when you have a product, Canadians need to gravitate to it and buy it. So for example, we're helping to launch a vegan cheese company right now so it's a cheesy sauce. So when you eat nachos, you have that delicious cheesy sauce that you normally buy. But if you look at all the ingredients, it's like, oh, this is just not good for you. Mm-hmm. So we have a brand from the US that we're helping right now. And the name of the brand is called Core and Rind. They developed this delicious vegan cheese sauce that is just amazing. It took them about 125 times to change the recipe and make it just perfect. So it's with roasted sunflower, with cashew. It's absolutely delicious. So that's a product that we're launching into the market right now. And yeah, so we assist them in getting 100% ready and to make sure that their pricing is correct. And we did research in the market. What are Canadians looking for? What are the trends? So if it goes onto the shelf, like, will people gravitate to the branding? Will they get the message? So before you launch, all the homework has been done, and the product is just ready to launch.
That's so cool. I mean, it sounds like you have a job where, although you work with different products, each of these products are so unique. They have the same like end goal to get in the grocery store or to get sold, but like a vegan cheese is going to be so much different than I don't know, just a tomato sauce. That comes off the top of my head. So you gotta know your markets and all those types of things.
Yeah, so we work with different consultants, and actually COVID has been so good in that regard, where people are working more online. So I was also able to connect with different consultants that work for me. So my team consists out of independent contractors. So basically, there are people that are specialized in certain fields. So I work with a marketing specialist. I work with somebody that's very good in sourcing ingredients and setting up manufacture. I work with different food science that help me to develop and commercialize the recipes. So also, for example, I've been approached by a few restaurants or restaurant chains that they've been challenged because their restaurants is closed and they're just getting less sales. So they're trying to find different revenues. So I'm working with one Greek restaurant right now. They have this amazing tzatziki sauce. They were like, we want to bring this to the grocery store. And people have been asking us like to bring it to the stores, or they want to take it home. So we're now reformulating it to get it shelf stable and then get it into the stores.
That's cool. And it sounds like you are using a lot of different skills over there. It sounds like you have many different hats, especially with the business that you're running. So I'm just curious, like, what do you think are some important skills that you use on a day-to-day basis?
So I see myself more as the person. I do the initial contact with the clients and really help them through the process. But I work with specialists in all those different fields. And also we do a lot of regulatory work, which is part of it, and quality assurance. So I work with consultants that are specialized in it. So my role is really to bring it all together and look at the big picture, because to help the clients really our goal is usually to get them to $1 million in sales. And that's when I tell them, like, you don't need this anymore because we've done our job. Mm-hmm. You've graduated. You can now hire your own salesperson, and we've done our job.
Wow. It sounds like you have a very people-forward job, and this would be like really great for someone who just likes talking and learning with new people.
Yeah, I agree. So if you want to learn all the aspects of the industry, this is great. And I like working with two types of consultants or people I work with. I really like the recent graduates or people that are just graduating, because for them to have that experience and to see the whole launch of a new product and see the whole big picture and see what's happening, it's very interesting. And I also work with people that are at their end of their careers. Sometimes they had jobs, they were very senior in their job, and it was a restructuring, and they have so much to share and they have so much knowledge. And it's such a pleasure to work with those professionals as well.
And I'm going to divert the conversation. I saw that you were part of the Futurepeneurs Program, and It sounds like you've been really active with that. And I wanted to know a little bit more about that, and how has the experience been for you?
I really feel about giving back to the food community. So wherever I can support young entrepreneurs, I always do that. So with Futurepreneur, I've been working with different companies. The company I work with right now is called OK Kombucha. So that's a younger startup. They're about 2 years in, and that's a kombucha company in Toronto. And it's been really a joy to work with them. So what I did, I helped them to streamline their sales process. We looked at all the costing. I assisted them from making their own kombucha in their own facility in Toronto to a co-manufacturer in Montreal. And it's been really joyful to work with them. And I got really excited because they're very excited and they see opportunities. And the kombucha space is like really competitive. And they try to be very different, and because they're using fresh, cold pressed juices to really give the kombucha a real different flavor and a real different experience. So it's really been interesting and fun to be working with them.
It sounds like a really good opportunity for someone who's in the younger space. Is the program limited for people to be mentored that they're in the younger age, or is it just open to anyone?
Yeah, I think I think it's anybody below 30. And so, yeah, if you're listening to this podcast, feel free to reach out to me. I can definitely let you know how the program works or assist you. You'll have different mentors. So if you're at the beginning phase, they help you with setting up your business plan, and they have a certain template, and they have financial consultants that are at no charge that will help you to set that up. And then once you are approved for the program, you'll get an industry expert, so somebody like me, that will assist you. So you have like weekly calls with somebody like me to walk you through the process of setting up or developing your business. And there's also a loan that's available to you as well.
That is awesome. I mean, I know in school, if you're going to school for learning research and development if you're going to food science program, but like this takes it to the next step, and it really can make your idea into like your next step after graduation, or even if you have graduated, like it could be your lifelong job. That's cool.
No, absolutely. And maybe because some people that have those great food ideas, and maybe they're more towards food science, or so the business side is a little bit foreign to them. They're like, what do I do? How do I start this business? So this is a great program for them.
And I like that as well, that it's targeted specifically for people who are new, because that can be challenging to navigate in those first steps, especially if you haven't been in the industry for 10, 20 years, to be able to get mentorship like that. It's not just someone, you're not just immediately pitching your idea and getting the money, like you're growing. And I bet you get so many personal development things that are even aside from the business. So
absolutely. Yeah. So for example, with OK Kombucha, they had challenges with shelf life challenges with their current co-manufacturer, like this whole shifts that they're going through right now to which really challenged their business and their growth model. And also going through COVID, they shifted to an online model. So it was like really interesting to see their growth and their experience.
Yeah, I gotta give them credit. With everything I've done in the food industry, I've never thought about making my own product and selling it, because it sounds so tough to navigate. I give credit to anyone who does it, but I mean, if there's people like you helping them, maybe it might be a little easier.
Yeah, no, but I totally respect. I always find it admirable, the drive that some people have. I agree.
And it's kind of crazy, like when you see, if you know of people when they just were starting the product, and then it's 2 years from now, and you're at like a major grocery chain, and it's just there, and you're like, holy cow, like that's impressive.
Yeah, I love that. I love seeing our clients like popping up in the grocery store. Like I was the other day in Sobeys in one aisle, and I saw like two of our clients. I'm like, yes, here they are. It's so cool. And you start the conversation like a year and a half ago, just at the kitchen table, and they're like, I would love to do this. And then you see that in the store. That's very cool.
I locked myself out of my building on yesterday when I was at school, so I had to wait around for someone. So I thought, I'll go walk around Loblaws for an hour. Like, I got time to kill because I couldn't go sit anywhere. And I was looking around, and it just made me think about how when you work in the food industry, you remember people by going through the grocery store. It's not like...
Totally, yeah.
Like, you're just like, oh, yeah, you're looking at your butter, and you're like, oh, I wonder how that person's doing, or you look at that one, and you're like, oh, I wonder how they're doing. I should give them a call.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that, because I have that all the time. Like, I can't just walk into the grocery store anymore, because like every time there's like a story behind the product. Yeah.
But I think that's the best part. Like, I mean, that's the thing that I really hope that we can... by talking, we're having these conversations, that people can see that the grocery store, as much as I love the restaurants, I know that you see the people behind them. When you go to the grocery store, many people don't think that they just see like Kellogg's or Kraft. It's just the brand. Right. But like when you start to get in the nitty gritty things, you're like, oh yeah, I know the production manager for that place. And
right.
It humanizes it.
No, I agree. That's a nice observation.
It's one of the things that I like about the industry. And
but it's about connections and community, and I think this podcast also helps, right, to sort of connect the people behind it, and that's also what I'm trying to do. That's also why I named my company like the Greater Goods, where success is shared. So I really care about our community, and that's why I help with or consultants that work for me that are close to retirement, and just the conventional jobs the companies don't see value in it anymore. And I want to bring those in. And it's the same with the graduates, like because there's so much value and to working with them. So I really, I think that's maybe the reason why you brought that up, because that's that sense of community in the food industry. And there's so many changes. Like you see things changing in the grocery store, you see trends changing, you see COVID changing. So if you come to the job market right now, and I've spoken to different graduates, and it's just nice to hear their perspective. And some of them are like, I just don't know what to do. I don't know where to start. Like, how can I ever enter the food industry as a career? And if that's you, then feel free to reach out to me. And I would love to have a conversation with you and sort of show you different perspectives, because the way we work with all those different startups, and I get 2 phone calls a day for different startups all through North America that are looking to sort of scale up and change the way they work. And I speak to old school distributors or importers that have been importing olive oil or very traditional European products for many years, and they see the shift and they're trying to understand, like, how do we keep up with the times? We just don't know what to do. And I have those conversations. In addition to that, we're opening up an office in Europe, in Amsterdam, in the middle of December. So the greater goods in Europe, and we're trying to do the same there, where we're helping European startups because we feel there's lots of innovation there, and also do the same there, assist them with the same type of service that we offer, and also make that connection to Canada and the US and make it more global and learn from their innovations as well.
That's so amazing that how far you've come in since starting. I mean, it's only been, 3 years sounds like a long time, but in the business world, that's not really that long, really. Like, you turn around and it's already been 4 months, and I don't even know, I saw you back in March, and I feel like I just saw you like last month. So to get to that point.
I saw you at the, was it National Convention, CIFST, National Convention in Niagara Falls. That's when I sort of started my business, I think, or not too long ago.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That just feels like I was looking at the little video that I had done, and you were still working at a Berry Calvo at the time, and it feels like just yesterday.
Exactly. Yeah.
I want to take the conversation 2 places, but just one thing I've been thinking about since you had mentioned it is that you had mentioned getting a listing in the grocery store. And I'll be honest, I don't really actually know what that means. And I was wondering if you could maybe explain what that is and how someone gets listed.
Okay, yeah, so that's a typical North American thing. So you don't see that in Europe. And that's also, if you're a startup brand or you want to expand, really look into the European markets, because the European market doesn't have those fees to get product into the store. Also, the exchange rate is very favorable. And there's a free trade agreement between Canada and the European Union. So if you're thinking about expanding, that's a great market to go to. So listing fees are the larger Canadian retail chains, such as Loblaws, Sobeys, Metro. They all have slotting fees, or basically, so when you walk through the aisle and you see, let's say you see the Kellogg cereal, all those people, they buy their spot into the grocery store. So you have to pay a fee in order to get into the grocery store, the bigger ones. And so those fees can be somewhere between $25,000 per item, per SKU, to $5,000. So that's a real barrier for a new startup company to go. That's why often when you go to independent grocery stores or health food stores, you're like, there's all these amazing products I've never seen when you go to those bigger stores. So that's a real challenge for startup brands to go in there. And that's also where we want to facilitate and find different ways for them to overcome those challenges.
Okay, that makes sense. I was not aware that something like that even existed, and I could see now why it is a barrier for a lot of individuals.
I think for the grocery stores, this is also an opportunity, because it's a challenge for them to adapt to changes, because I think especially through COVID, you see diet changes and people want to live better lives and have better nutrition. And that's what we see with our clients that are launching. They have like healthy versions of existing products that are as tasty or even better tasting. And so I think it's an opportunity also for bigger grocery stores to sort of start changing their system so they can start working with these new innovations and new companies that are really aligned with what people are looking for. Sugary treats, like, I think people are sort of slowly are having enough of that, right? It's no longer, like, there's healthy treats that are much better.
Yeah, it's interesting how even the idea of health foods changes. Like, I don't remember when it was, but anything that was deemed like low fat, that was healthy at the time, and that's not seen as healthy. Now it's less sugar, which arguably I think that should stay. I mean, I don't know what evidence suggests that sugar is going to be like good for you in the long term, but to see these new brands coming up, it's exciting, and I'd like to see more focus on it, because Health is such like this general topic that everyone has their own idea, and someone's saying keto is healthy to them, and I know each body's different, but having more variety to be able to choose what's healthy for you, I'm excited for that, because I stick with the bigger brands just because they've been there for a long while. It's hard to, how do I know that is healthier for me? Like, is it really? 'Cause
Right.
it's more expensive, so how do you equate that health? Because it's hard, and I think it's interesting though.
Yeah, so one of the brands that we launched is a date sugar brand. So dehydrated ground up dates, and the brand is called Liva, so Liva, Liva Foods, and it's a Mississauga brand. It was a stay-at-home mom, and she was like she was diabetic, inflammation. She was like, how can I bake my treats or have my coffee like with the same sweetness? I love sweetness, but how do I do this? Then she started looking in a grocery store, and she's like, dates are such a good sweetener, but nobody had a date sugar out there. So she developed this amazing brand, and we worked with her to develop it, to set everything up. That's like one of our success stories. And they're killing it everywhere in the grocery store, and they have this beautiful pink packaging with a golden lid, and it's just, they're now in Loblaws, they're in Costco, they're going to Europe, they're going to the US. And it's a fun way to say to people, like, you can have that sweetness and you can experience that. Transition over to something that's healthy, that doesn't cause inflammation.
That's yeah, I saw their packaging. It's stunning. Like, honestly, it really is.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. See, that's a product where it's not in my wheelhouse usually, and it's like, how do I take the chance in trying it? Like, so I
I
guess
think we need to send you a sample.
I think so. I think so. I'm secretly doing this podcast so I can get samples. Don't tell anyone. No, I'd love to try some, because I did see their packaging, and my dad's diabetic and he loves the sweets, and it's, how do you make it not seem like I'm just eating something that's a health food? Like,
Exactly.
I'm not
Yeah.
depriving myself. I want to not feel like I'm depriving myself and just choose it because I like it. Not,
Yes. Yeah.
and
And that's very important. And that's, I think, a lot of like gluten-free products, and some of them are just not, they don't taste good. So
yeah.
people are like, no, I don't want to eat that.
And that's a
Yeah.
funny thing you mentioned that as well, because my boyfriend's father, he's celiac, so he's seen like, he's celiac. It's not an intolerance, like, he can't eat gluten, period. And
Yeah.
hearing him talk over the years that I've been dating, like, he's just been like, the amount of products that have come out, and that's the exciting part about these startups, is they're the people that are saying, I'm tired of having these bland products. I want to just
Yeah.
eat a good pizza that tastes good. Nothing,
Yeah.
no big deal.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree.
Yeah, so it really does sound that brokers are important in helping, like, give these opportunities to these individuals, purely from what you've been doing. And I just wanted to know, for you as well, why do you think that brokers are important for the industry?
So brokers are the connection for a brand and the retailer, especially the bigger retailers. Let's say if all the brands would start talking directly to the buyers, let's say a buyer at Loblaws, they would receive, I don't know, 500 phone calls a day. So they prefer to work with brokers that really understand the system and how to communicate with them, and also the paperwork when a listing is being done, because they understand all that work that needs to be done. So what we do with the brands, we help them to get like 100% broker ready, and also facilitate the communications to the broker, where we go, this brand understands how to play the game, they're ready, here's all the information. And then you see a brand going from zero to millions in a very short period of time.
Okay, and it really does seem that you want to get the idea out there that brokers are helpful, and consultants, because as a startup, I could imagine a lot of individuals want to just, I'm doing this all by myself. I'm gonna
Oh
get
yeah,
this done. Like, this is my project. Like, you can't. So it sounds like you're kind of working in the background, helping them to do it without taking time from what's important for them. Because I don't think spending time trying to find a listing fee is really was their prime goal. They want to get their product out to as many people because that's what they wanted to share.
Yeah, or even money. So we worked with a startup. They developed a functional iced tea. So basically an iced tea with a blend of vitamins that gives you calmness. And what they did, they developed this within neuroscience, developed this amazing product. They did a branding, then they did a whole test run. So basically they invested about $60,000. And they were like, yes, we're ready. And then they were like, let's go out and sell it. So they were starting to call retailers and distributors. And they were all asking, do you have any existing sales? Like, can you show your success? Are we the first? Like, they're like, of course you're the first. We want to bring it to you. They were like, we don't want to be a test market. Maybe find some other people to start with first. And they were just spinning their wheels. And then the product was expired. So they did all the right things. They had Instagram, the branding, everything was done correctly. But the product expired. They had no sales. And then we started engaging with them. And we basically had to start over. And so they spent $60,000 without any sales. So it's good to work with a professional or to get consultants just so you understand how things work and what is the costing. What is the true cost from developing to selling into the stores? How much do I need to invest? And when do I see that money back? And how does that work?
I'm learning so much from this conversation that I never even knew existed. Like, I thought I knew about the industry, but I clearly do not know this whole other side. And I got to get more people on the podcast like you so I can learn even more.
Great.
Because you have so much background, like you have all this knowledge about the industry and this side, how do you research? Like, how have you gained this knowledge to know the inner workings on this side?
Yeah, so I think really because when I started my company 3 years ago, I maybe 10% of this, but really by just going into it and working with professionals that are doing this and starting to develop this, because I really saw the needs. I was like, startup companies are just not supported by brokers, not supported by investors, because they're like, oh, this is all too much risk. And so, yeah, so some of the ideas are just brilliant. So, for example, as one gentleman I spoke to in the US, and he developed a remedy, and it took him about 30 years to develop it. And it's basically eliminates feelings of fear and anxiety in 10 days. Like whoa,
Okay,
that's incredible. Okay. But like, it's so nice to talk to people that have all these new ideas. So I was like, how does that work? Like, that's so interesting that people are just at home, and like 30 years he developed this really cool thing that can really help people to feel better.
That's so exciting. I gotta get out to the grocery store and start really looking at these things, because you're listening again. Like I say, I'm learning a lot of things, and you're listening to all these things that I just never came to my thought process.
That's awesome.
I guess talking about me learning about a lot, I wanted to know if there's anything that's exciting you right now about the food industry. I know that we're going through a lot of obvious changes from the situation, but I want to talk about something hopeful. Like, what do you see that's exciting you right now?
Yeah, so I see a lot of people developing like healthy versions of existing products. So I think a lot of Canadians are looking forward to new innovations, healthy, good food options that are affordable. And I think that's the number one that we're working on, to make sure that it is affordable for people to try. And that's one of the things that we really help with, to bring the cost down, because there's a lot of entrepreneurs, they're like, and I just got off the phone with one of my clients, and we went through a whole exercise, and they go, we're losing $1,000 every month, after they realized like what the true cost was of doing business. So they were like getting all worried. So I was like, no, this is good insight, because now we can start working on it. So we typically help them to bring the cost down and become profitable, because we bring in that expertise and understanding how to buy all those ingredients. And so this way we get them more competitive, and also they can be in the stores with a better price. So basically I speak to a lot of young entrepreneurs that are just excited and bringing new things to the market. And I just love speaking with them and their drive and excitement for that change. And it's so nice to be part of that. And so I see in the next 10 years, I see a real change of the concept of a grocery store, the way we're buying, or even the way we're perceiving food. Let's say the McDonald's in the world, like, is that still something that people will gravitate to, or is that, and the plant-based, how is that going to affect? So I think there's going to be a real shift of Canadians of how they perceive foods, how they perceive the impact of the environment and the nourishment they're getting out of food.
Mm-hmm. You're right. I'm excited, and hearing you, it like gets me excited too. I mean, with these things, like we're at such a interesting time where things are moving so fast, and it could really change anything. And
yeah,
I think that there's also this more chance at the market not being dominated by certain brands. Like there's going to be a more diverse landscape, you know, for a company that's focused on one good quality product or like a smaller product line. That might be something we see more. And thinking about our dining experiences, I was talking to Nicole this week about what's fast food going to look like. Are we going to get more fast food? You know, it's still not as prevalent having fast, healthy food that's affordable. Like that's still not as in the forefront as I would like. So it's exciting. And hearing you talk about students, I think this would be a good chance to ask you, and what advice would you give students who are starting their careers and might want to go into a profession that's similar to yours?
I want to say, like, I feel like we're going through a transition right now, just like you just talked about. I see new students entering the market that maybe not sure what to do. Like, it's a period of transition where I think, just like we just talked about, those healthy options, and they will come to the forefront, smaller companies. So really see that longer vision of your career and just start learning different skills. And also working for one company for a long period of time, that's not happening anymore and maybe not necessary. So I would just go and take those different experiences. And maybe you want to start up your own company, or maybe you want to partner up with other with friends and individuals and really to make that change.
That's good advice. And you're right that, like we've been saying a lot in this podcast, there's a lot of the landscape changing, and someone staying at a company for 20 years, it's not as prevalent, I should say. So and I like what you said, is just to go out there and learn. It sounds like, you know, you're the type to say, like, diversify. Correct me if I'm wrong, but like diversify and really get a grasp on like different aspects, and don't limit yourself to just being a specialist on something. Have some range.
Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
With that as well, like we're talking about learning. So I was curious if you had any recommendations on books or podcasts or people that they should check out.
Yeah, I don't have a specific recommendation, but I think it's good to stay informed and maybe listen to podcasts like this, or listen to innovation or people that you find really inspiring, and just use that in inspiring moments. And also, when you think about, if you have an idea or you want to do something, just go follow your gut feeling and try to create something and develop something. And always feel free to call me if you have a great idea and you just want some feedback, and just go for it, try it.
So I'm going to finish the podcast with two questions. And the second one is, why is the food industry a great place to work?
I must say, and that's something I noticed when I started working in the food industry, I really like the people. Like, I find they're very friendly, very supportive. I find people, and especially when you're at like a CIFST tabletop show, I think it really sort of shows that really people care for each other and have genuine interest. Also find it like a nice educated group of people, and just very pleasant. Like, it feels like you're part of something. So I really enjoy it.
I agree. I definitely agree with you with everything. And it's like the common answer is, when I ask that question, everyone's like, the people, the people, the people. So
exactly. Yeah.
So it must be the truth if we're getting it all the time.
It is. Yeah.
And so the last question I want to ask is just, where can people find you? How can we connect with you or reach out?
Yeah, so you can reach out to me on my website, thegreatergoods.ca, or Instagram, thegreatergoods.ca. You'll find, so you can connect with me there. And as well on LinkedIn, Greater Goods or Bernard Verkaaik. So yeah, feel free to connect with me. I'll be happy to have a conversation with you. Also, we have a link on our website where you can book like a free consult. So if you're interested in learning more, just click on there, and then you can fill out the form.
Awesome. I can't wait to share all those links on the show notes. So thank you so much, Bernard, for coming on the show. I learned so much in this conversation. Like, honestly, I got a lot more research and I got a lot more talking to do with some people, so I better understand this.
Great. And thank you so much for the interview. I really appreciate it.
That's great. Thank you, Bernard.
Thank you everyone so much for tuning in and listening to episode 13 of the FoodGrads podcast. All the show notes for this episode can be found by clicking the podcast tab on the FoodGrads website. There, you can find any past or future episodes of the show. If you enjoyed this episode, then please consider sharing it with your network. I would love to get the word out about how great the food industry is and get more people excited about it. Also, don't forget to sign up for your free FoodGrads account. You can create a searchable profile, include your skills, career aspirations, and multiple resumes tailored for different job opportunities, all focused on the food industry. Joining will connect you to an amazing network of food and beverage professionals, the next generation of food. With that, once again, thank you everyone so much for listening. I'll see you next week. Bye!